Aha. Okay, I think we're live now. I think we are live. This is great. If this is the first time that I have done a YouTube live, I'm hoping that the video works. I'm just doing just started. Let's see here. So seeing if the sound works. I'm hoping the sound works here. I think this is going to work. We're just testing the sound. If you're on and the sound, you can hear the sound, like if it's okay, if you could just message in the chat, that would be awesome. Awesome. Okay, tech aspects are all good. Hello, everybody. This is Marc Elliot here, and this is my first, I believe it is my first YouTube live channel, or my first YouTube live channel that I'm going live on YouTube. And this is the Buck Stops Here podcast, as we are going to really dive in and look at and keep everyone up to date with the current events that are happening with the recent motion that was just filed showing that in the case of U.S. versus Raniere, that there is now, to a scientific certainty, evidence that shows that the government tampered evidence within the most damning evidence in the trial. Normally when I make videos, I try to make them super nice and I edit them and I do all these things, but with this coming out after being in this fight for 3 years, and now with this information coming out, I thought this was the perfect opportunity to do more live streams and begin to do them to continually update people out there of the things that are happening. Because even just today, a lot of things happen that most people don't even know about. And ultimately, I want this to be an opportunity to actually let the government know that we're watching them. That we, the people, are watching the government with tampering of this on a historic level. They're going to try to sweep this under the rug. There's no question about it. And so this is going to be a great outlet to continue to update you of things in the news, things that are happening, and to ultimately ask the government question and hold people accountable. So I thought a great way to start was to show you the tweet that I believe broke Twitter yesterday. Nikki Klein tweeted, breaking in the case of U.S. versus Keith Raniere, 3 forensic experts, including a former FBI special agent of 20 years, have filed affidavits affirming that the FBI tampered and planted the child porn evidence presented at trial in motion to stay appeal. What was so incredible about this, as you can see, there was 400, this is as about an hour ago, there's been 459 quote retweets or 459 comments. There's 2,865 retweets and almost 5,000 likes. It has been an incredible, it's just been incredible, the response that Nikki has received, as we would expect. I mean, this is extraordinary tampering that has now been uncovered and filed to the court. As it says in the tweet, one of the experts, his name is Dr. Richard Kuiper. He was in the FBI for 20 years. He only retired 2 years ago. Not only was he a forensic examiner, he was a trainer of forensic examiners, and he was a trainer of trainers of forensic examiners. And as you read the motion, the link will be below after I post it, where you can see the full motion to stay the appeal that has the expert reports attached to it, that he has never seen anything like this in his 20 years. I thought it would just be great to go over some of the responses that Nikki has found, or not found, that people have responded to. Let's see here, where are we? there has been, again, with almost 1 million impressions, and Nikki has shared that almost 95% of the comments have been positive, and I wanted to show you them to you as, this is, obviously, Keith Raniere is a hated man. Obviously, I believe he's innocent, but that's irrelevant to what is going on now. We are showing that the government ultimately committed crimes against a citizen to secure a conviction. And over the last few years, with the amount of hate that Keith has experienced and the NXIVM community, it has often been hard to find people that have been willing to stand for the principle of due process, even for a hated man. And I was completely floored by the response yesterday, as clearly that is not the case. There is a lot of people out there that do believe that regardless of what we feel about somebody, no matter how much we hate them, that what is more important is that the government does not commit crimes against them. So I want to show you some of these tweets. Melissa McKenzie says, the FBI is a complete shit show. Fire everyone, defund them. Something has got to stop. Kurt Schlichter says, big, if true. Vinny D'Agostino says, this is so bad I actually cannot comment on it. Jeff Carlson says, the public faith is gone. Liz Wheeler says, wait a second, the FBI tampered and planted child porn evidence? If this is true, it is so beyond horrific. Sean Davis, the FBI is a terrorist organization. People are free. He better walk. And of course, there should be plenty of people at the FBI that fry, but won't. I think Keith is a disgusting pig, but he didn't deserve that. Awful. This is actually my favorite one. I mean, this is somebody that believes that Keith is a disgusting pig, but recognizes that there is something beyond their feeling and what they think about him, and that ultimately that he deserves justice. This is my favorite one. Christy Smith says, to say that I've become a champion of picking at the threads of very strong negative public narratives over the past few years would be an understatement. One thread that deserves to be picked at in the NXIVM case is if the FBI planted evidence. It's never okay for that to happen. This is wild and a major plot twist in the NXIVM saga, says Daniel Bostic. Mark Eglinton says, wow. Dissident says, abolish the FBI. Two more. Have to admit, I've never read anything quite like that, says Dr. Shipwrecked Crew. And last but not least, Scott Adams says, this just got a lot more interesting. So, with the filing that happened yesterday, there's already been headlines in it. The first one came from the Mercury News. It says, written by Nate Gartell, in bid for freedom, notorious NXIVM sex cult leader claims to have proof of FBI evidence tampering. Noah Goldberg from the Daily News says, NXIVM sex cult leader Keith Raniere alleges the FBI tampered with evidence, wants a new trial. Now, there's something really interesting about Noah Goldberg's article. A lot of times we often say that there's a lot of hate in this case. And sometimes people don't even know what that is. Sometimes it's too vague. And I'll just give you a specific example. In this article, where he goes over the motion, I'm going to show you the actual. Noah Goldberg says, after he talks about the motion, he says he was convicted of sex trafficking and sleeping with minors, along with racketeering, forced labor, and wire fraud. Just to be incredibly clear, Keith Raniere was never charged with that. And that here you have a reporter of the Daily News that probably reaches, has millions of impressions, is allowed to write something like that, which is horrific. I mean, to say that somebody does that to children and they were convicted of that when that's not even true. So, of course, I felt Nikki Klein dealt with it appropriately. She said, hey, Noah Goldberg, I know there's been no accountability around the NXIVM narrative, but inventing a damning charge is pretty uncool. Raniere was never charged with nor convicted of sleeping with minors. Perhaps you consider correcting it in your article at the New York Daily News. So again, this is just a very simple example of how this narrative has completely has grown has become ridiculous in so many ways that people have just lied and regurgitated those lies. But at this point, it's sort of irrelevant. Now, the main focus here is this is ultimately becoming a government corruption case in which we now have beyond DNA evidence to a scientific certainty that while some of the contraband was in FBI custody, was ultimately manipulated, tampered, and fabricated. The last thing that I just want to talk about on this first episode, I didn't intend it to be very long, but amazingly, so the motion was filed yesterday. Let me just show you how large of a file this is. If you want to see the motion, as I said, we put it on scrib.com. It is 138 pages. Now, of those 138 pages, the actual motion itself, I might be a little off on this. This might take a second to load, is maybe like 8 or 10 pages. So what that means is that the 3 expert reports that were attached to the motion to stay the appeal is about 120 pages. 120 pages of 3 digital forensic experts. Another one is Steve Abrams. He's been involved in over 1,200 cases as an expert witness. He's also an attorney. One of the experts, again, is Dr. Kuiper. This is in-depth analysis of the tampering in 120 pages, all 3 of their reports, okay? Imagine just how long it even just might take to read that, let alone actually, for the prosecution to begin to investigate and look at this, what we're stating here. And today, already, the government filed a response. It's called a filing 2.0. It's in the United States Court of Appeals because they did not want the appeal to be stayed. Just because I don't think I mentioned it, next week, Keith Raniere, his appeal, which started about a year ago, oral arguments are scheduled for Tuesday. So they filed the motion to stay the appeal yesterday to try to move that back as this Rule 33 motion is coming out with the evidence of the government corruption and tampering. So that was filed yesterday, 120 pages of expert reports, and already the prosecutors of the Eastern District of New York filed a response. And what is incredible is, in their response, let me show you here. So they say 2 things. They say that this is indeed, there's no legal or factual basis to stay the appeal, much less to stay it as 2 business days before oral argument. Raniere's assertion of government malfeasance is frivolous, and the government will address that assertion on the merits at such time as Raniere makes the motion. So prosecutors in the Eastern District of New York have already decided that a 120-page document of 3 experts with extraordinary backgrounds. Dr. Richard Kuiper even has a recommendation from the chief knowledge officer of the FBI. And here, his name is Kevin Trowell, has already declared that this is a frivolous lawsuit, and they claim that they know it is frivolous because the woman, the girl who the government claims was 15 years old, of this alleged contraband, which this evidence of tampering shows that the dates of those filed and file folders were altered to make it appear that they were taken in 2005, which would make it seem that the girl was under 18 years old, that she was 15 at the time. I forgot his name. Kevin Trowell then asserts that we know that this is frivolous because the girl who, the supposed victim, the underage girl, says, as noted in the government's brief on appeal, Camila appeared at Raniere's sentencing and herself confirmed that in September of 2005, when she was still 15, Raniere took naked pictures of her. Now, the reason I wanted to bring this up is because this is extraordinary. I mean, first, again, it's just ridiculous to think that a prosecutor who has, no back, most likely, and is not qualified to make these kinds of judgments of whether or not it's frivolous or not, and it's 120 pages, so clearly they didn't read this. This must have, I assume this must have been a prefabricated statement. But second, they're saying they know it's frivolous because the girl in the photo supposedly spoke at the victim impact statement, gave a victim impact statement to Raniere, which everyone needs to understand. That is a statement after the trial has already happened. So this girl did not testify at trial, and not to mention a victim impact statement is not under oath. A victim impact statement is not under oath. And yet, after a 120-page document showing to a scientific certainty that the government tampered with evidence in the Raniere case involving the child pornography, they say they know that's not true because a girl spoke at a victim impact statement not under oath and she said it happened. To me, this clearly shows the government's cards, that they have no idea how to deal with this. And again, as we continue, as these events continue to unfold, we will continue to ask questions to the prosecutors. But to me, it is clear. I believe that they obviously knew that this was going on. This response is ridiculous, to say the least. So those are the updates for today. It has been an eventful 24 hours, and we are excited to see as this continues to unfold. And we'll be on the lookout for the Rule 33 when it's filed with the Eastern District of New York as we begin to unravel this government corruption. So thank you for joining, and I'll see you very soon.